discarding. We're gonna do Druid. We're gonna do Druid. You're kicking these off, right? By talking about the cards that leave the meta. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Three,
Go.
three, two, two, one, one. Welcome back. This is the Lightforge tier list Witchwood card review stream, and we tell you what we scored the cards, our initial scores, which I will say in Kobolds and Catacombs was probably our lowest accuracy yet. Although we're normally like 95% right on these, so Kobolds and Catacombs was like 85% within a good distance. But hopefully we'll catch this one, and I think we will because these are a lot easier cards-wise, right? Like, this is Witchwood. Right. We just went over all the neutrals. Some were interesting for the most part. They were, like, not terribly exciting. Definitely not very good. And are the class cards any better, Merps?
Well, not really, but we have some good ones, right? So for neutrals, if you saw the previous video, the highest neutral we had was Witchwood Grizzly, which was very meh 125, right? Like good, but none of the super premiums that we previously seen. Are we going to see some premium cards in some classes? Sure, but once again, one of the overarching themes is just a lot of mediocrity in this expansion. So the first class we are going to be discussing is the Druid, right?
Yeah, and so before we go there, we're going to structure we're going to structure the discussion.
We're only on the first class, man. You gotta...
My jaw, it's hurting. We're going to structure the discussion by first talking about the outgoing cards for each of the classes, because that's very important to class identity and to how you'll be playing the classes, how you'll be drafting them, and how you'll be facing them. So Merps is going to review those, and then we're going to go card by card and see what's coming into the meta to support the class.
Right. So let's look at what Druids are going to be missing. And I won't go through every single card. I'm going to be going through certain themes, certain deck archetypes, and I'll sometimes be going through important cards that they are going to be losing from Old Gods, Karazhan, and MSG. So when we look at Druid, like what are they losing with this rotation? They're losing beasts. When you drafted Druids, in pre-Witchwood, Beast Druid was a thing, right? And you can count on the synergies there, like through Mark of Yasharaj and Menagerie Warden. Those were your two biggest Beast synergy cards, which propelled you to get Beasts. And both of those are gone with this expansion. You are like, so Mark of Yasharaj is rotating out, Menagerie Warden is rotating out, and also Enchanted Raven is rotating out, which helped you curve, right? Like one drop into a really good Mark of Yasharaj target. So you're missing those, and I would say almost as importantly, you're missing Mark of the Lotus, one of the best tempo cards for Druids to play this sort of, like token style, just like put a lot of stuff onto the board and efficiently buff everything with Mark of the Lotus. So, they're missing that tempo card, but really Beast Druid is dead. Just remember that. Like they are not like going to be the Beast class that they once were.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh, okay. So that's okay. So no, okay. So Beast Druids are dead. Let's
were
see.
you not satisfied with that?
No, I was very satisfied with that. I was just waiting for you to talk about like really high-powered cards leaving potentially or whatever. But that's okay. There's not that many. There's no really high-powered. It's Mark of the Lotus and that's it. So like,
if there was I would have talked about it.
Okay.
Gosh. That's a faith.
All right, so Druids in Witchwood is kind of one-dimensional in terms of what they got, which is good because some classes are zero-dimensional in Witchwood, where you just kind of look at it and you go, oh. But Druids have one very good card coming in, and it is very good, very obviously. It's Druid of the Scythe, and I feel like every time we get one of these choose one minions on curve for Druid, it's always very good, right? Yes. You have Druid of the Flame, Druid of the Saber, Druid of the Druids are good in Druid. Who would have thought?
Oh my gosh.
And you can see it. Druid of the Swarm is literally 1 point higher And we all know how good that card is. So Druid of the Scythe is a 3 mana, either 4/2 rush or a 2/4 taunt. So 3 mana 2/4 taunt is pretty crappy. We've all seen Tentacles. There's the Militia guy that's a neutral. That one even has Echo, and it's not getting rated very high. But a 4/2 rush, that's great. That's a 3 mana like removal. That's more tempo than you're putting in, right? You spend 3 mana, you remove 4 tempo worth of stuff. You're gonna deal 4 damage. And unlike those flip-floppy things that are done one turn and one turn, one turn now, one turn later, like Swift Messenger, you are actually in control of when you want to do this. And because you're actually in control of this choice, look how high it's rated. I still see people who are like, oh, Swift Messenger is so good. No, but Druid of the Scythe is so good. This is a 156. This is better than Wrath, better than Cryptlord, above a swipe. Like, that's how premium we put this card. It's kind of insane.
It is. Also, part of the reason why, like, and I think a lot of people are just like, what swipe is the best? And it's one of those things which the meta has sort of shifted, right? Yeah. It's like the 4 mana 4 damage, like the AoE is nice, but like stuff are just a lot bigger now. Like 4 mana for 4 damage on your main target is a lot of times just really not enough. So a lot of the like long held beliefs that you're still clinging onto, right? Like Yeti is
Swipe
good.
Hasn't been that good for a while, actually.
Yeah, Swipe is super premium. Swipe is still really good, and you're still going to pick it a lot, but it's not the world beater that it used to be, right? Where you see a swipe, you pick a swipe. That's
number of times I picked Spellstone over Swipe. It's probably most of the time, actually. But that's where Swipe is right now. Anyway, Druid of the Scythe. Moving down, the next highest rated Druid card. This is what I mean by Druid's kind of a one-trick pony here in Witchwood.
It's not good. It's not good.
It's a Bewitched Guardian. Is this right? Is it really a Bewitched Guardian? Did we really have to go all the way down to 84 to find the next Druid card?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god. So. I knew it was bad. Like, I have in my notes here, but I didn't realize it was this bad. Druid of the Scythe, then bad. Well, it's a Bewitched Guardian. It's 84. 84 is really bad. I think 84 is low enough that if Blizzard's bucketing these correctly, this would be like offered less to you. Like, it's low enough that it's part of the like, these cards are so bad we don't want people to see them category. And this is the second best card in Druid for Witchwood. But you'll see it's not uncommon for some of these classes. This is actually 4/1. It's like the dragon. It's like a Twilight Drake, right?
Okay.
Is it the Twilight Drake? Yeah, it's a Twilight Drake.
It's a Twilight Drake.
It's a Twilight Drake, but it has taunt. And it costs 1 mana more. Would you pay 1 mana more to give something taunt?
I mean, no.
No. How good is Twilight Drake?
It's like okay.
So this is less than okay.
Right. Yeah. I think that's fair.
It's pretty straightforward. Can you make decks that will make this very good? Yes. Just like don't have 1-drops and 2-drops and have some cards that add cards to your hand. Like they showed on stream one of the possible combos with one of the cards. Well, we could talk about it now. It's actually one of the worst rated cards in here. With Witchwood Apple, right? Which is a 2 mana, add 3/2/2 treants to your hand. So you spend 2 mana, and then by turn 5, you actually have 2 extra cards in your hand compared to if you didn't play any other cards. Like, wow, what value? But you're not doing that in the arena, so that's not happening, and it's just a bad card.
So yeah, look, Druid, it really is just Druid of the Scythe, and then really, really bad cards. And I still see people sort of trashing Druid of the Scythe, and they're like, oh, it's just like a Shadow Bolt with a bad option. Shadow Bolt with a bad option is really good.
I agree. It is a Shadow Bolt with a bad option.
Yeah.
That's what makes it better than Swipe.
And you know what a bad option attached to a pretty good card is? An amazing card in the arena. Yeah. You see a lot of these sort of things. It's like, like, and I think consistently this is a criticism that people have. It's like, oh, it's just like a pretty good card with like a bad option. It's like, okay, that makes it into a super premium,
Yep.
right? Like, bad option means you still have the option, and sometimes those bad options are your best option, right? Like sometimes you do want that 2/4 taunt. And once again, this is the arena here, right? So any sort of additional option is so useful, and you might not use it in like 4 out of 5 cases, but in that 1 out of 5 cases, like that matters. It matters a ton.
Yeah.
So,
and especially when they're very different. Like sometimes like for Druid of the Scythe, you're like, oh, I want a taunt. Guess what? You have a taunt. Yeah. It's kind of wonderful. Sometimes you're like, hey, I need to remove that thing or it's going to snowball. Guess what? You have a removal. Like, it's wonderful. Okay, so Bewitched Guardian. I know this is going to be one of those cards where I know people are going to fight me on this, and that's because it's going to be a great constructed card. And just want to repeatedly point out, no matter how slow the meta is, it is not constructed.
Right.
Okay. Now, cards, the next highest rated card in Druid is not anywhere close to Bewitched Guardian. Like, imagine how bad Bewitched Guardian is and how much we've been trashing this card. Well, the next one's a 67. Bewitched Guardian is at least an 84. Like, you could put it in your deck and it won't, like, lose you many games. Like, it'll just be not good. Witching Hour will lose you games. It is a 3-mana card. You may want to try to synergize with it. It is the Beast card to make Beast Druid still a thing. But as you heard from Merps, Beast Druid is not a thing. Do not try to make Beast Druid a thing.
Right.
It's 3 mana, summon a random friendly beast that died this game. This is only a draftable card if you have, like, only 3 beasts in your entire deck, and they're all giant beasts.
Right. Or, they can also be a Basilisk, right?
Right, or a Basilisk, yeah.
But once again, you can't play it until later on, and you don't know which one you're going to get if multiple ones have died.
And one has to die, and there's not enough beasts that you can guarantee that one is actually going to die.
Right.
When you want to use this.
Right. So on turn 6, when you want to play your 3-drop plus this, or on turn 5, when you want to play your 2-drop plus this, for example, there's a decent chance nothing has died.
Yeah.
So it is just not a card up until then.
So is it possible? So here's the thing with 10.4, right? Some of these cards are going to have homes in certain decks. And in those decks, this could be a game-winning card. Not because it's like the best card, but because your other options are like Furblog Mossbinder or Raid Leader, right? The cards around there. So this is not like when the cards are this bad, especially when they're class cards that do stuff and high synergy cards, that's not saying like never pick them, right? If this was before 10.4, cards in this category are just like never pick them. You'll have better options. But in 10.4, you're not going to be offered these cards that much, but if Blizzard buckets them correctly, meaning if Blizzard does put them in the trash bucket, this may be trash that fits with your deck decently enough that it's an average card, and you will have an average card instead of some other trash that you can pick. So, like, that's why we're actually going over all of these cards instead of just being like, this is bad, this is why it's bad, don't play it. We're identifying, and we'll really do this with all the class cards, we're identifying scenarios where it's actually good. There's very few scenarios where Bewitching Guardian is better than okay, because you're going to play 3-drops, and then it's already just like kind of a kind of card, and later on, it's just not going to be good. So it's always going to be average to like below average. But Witching Hour could be good. You just have to have that deck first.
Yeah. I think that's a good point.
And for people who are like, oh, there's plenty of beasts in Druid, there aren't. We've done the math. The number of beasts that you want, like Egg Napper, it's bad, right? You don't want to bring back your 1/1s, but like the number of beasts that actually work with this card, very, very few.
Right.
Okay. Ferocious Howl, 3 mana, draw a card, gain 1 armor for each card in your hand. So it's like that warrior card. It's rated basically the same as that warrior card.
Cared. Yeah. So it's just not good.
Yeah. If you have, but again, right? If you have the armor synergies, then it's a totally okay card. It cycles, gives you a little health, and it allows you to trigger your armor synergies. Mm-hmm. Right? If you have enough spellstones or whatever, this is a perfectly good cycle card.
Yep.
And it's going to be rated pretty badly by Blizzard, because this card's not going to win a ton of games.
Yeah, that is one of these things. Like, a lot of these very situational or deck-dependent synergy cards, they're going to be placed in bad buckets, and the bucket system doesn't read synergy, right? It doesn't read, it's like, oh man, because you have 3 spell stones, this is actually decent. Let's bump this up a tier. It won't do that. It'll present this in a bad tier.
On the flip side, it could also just say, well, no one's going to take Ferocious Howl unless they already have armor synergy. So Ferocious Howl actually ends up with like a really high win rate, and then it actually becomes in like a decent bucket, in which case don't touch it ever. Right? Like,
it could be one of them. It's like, oh, okay, so it could be good or bad.
Yeah.
That's the conclusion.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on where Blizzard buckets it. Right?
Yeah.
It depends on where Blizzard buckets it. And that depends on the win rates, and that depends on what people do. So it's really hard to predict. But basically, if they put it in a high bucket, don't take it. If they put it in a low bucket, look at your synergies. Consider maybe this is a way to get some value in your deck. Whispering Woods, 4 mana, summon a 1/1 Wisp for each card in your hand. Doesn't include this card. So, like, your best case scenario is 4 1/1s, but you're more likely to have less than 4 1/1s than more than 4 1/1s, and it's pretty bad.
And when Adokta says best case scenario, he obviously doesn't mean like best case scenario. It's just like
realistic best case scenario.
Realistic scenario, right? I can see the people. It's like, what? You could have 7/1, and yeah, you could, but yeah.
Witchwood Apple, we went over. It's a 2 mana, add 3 2/2 treants in your hand. The 2/2 treants are 2 mana, by the way. Like, they're not good. They're like bad cards. 2 mana 2/2s are bad in the late game. It's not like you're adding late game cards. It's not even like this card has a lot of card advantage. It's the same as, like, it's probably less good than a 6/6. Like, it's a medium sized card that costs way too much mana. You just get to split it up. So you better be able to do some fancy stuff with it. And you're an arena deck, so you probably won't be able to do fancy stuff with it. So don't take it.
Yep. So that's a 36.
Yeah, and then 27, this is like also don't take it. Forest Guide, 4 mana, 1/6. At the end of your turn, both players draw a card.
My gosh, it's not even like you draw first and then maybe they draw after.
It's not even like, oh, if players with less than 3 cards draw a card. There's no way to like win with this.
No, you always lose with this. So there you go. It's a 27. It is absolute dumpster tier.
Yep. Like, I don't even know what kind of synergies you'd want to have that card do stuff.
Yeah, it is so bad. But you know, that is that sort of Druid, 1 premium card and then a lot of real bad cards. Okay, we talking about the legendaries now?
Yeah, let's talk about the legendaries. Also, just so overall, Druid doesn't seem like it has a lot going on for it. It's going to rely heavily on its old stuff, which means it's going to end up being like okay, probably slightly underpowered, but Druid's always a little better in good players' hands, so I think Druid will be okay. But again, buckets. All about the buckets.
Yep.
Druid legendaries. Splinter Graft, 8 mana, 8/8, choose a friendly minion, add a 10/10 copy to your hand that costs 10 mana. This could get pretty insane, but remember, 10 mana cards are kind of difficult to play, and it's a 130. I don't think it's a super premium legendary, but obviously a good card.
Right. I mean, even if it's a 8 mana 8/8 that adds a 10/10 with like, you know, no ability or like somewhat of an ability, it's still really huge value, right? And really huge value will do something. So
the problem is you do need a friendly minion on the board to start with.
Right.
Like, if you have an empty board, it does nothing.
Right.
Okay. Duskfallen Aviana is a 39. The number doesn't matter. Just don't pick this card. Like, never pick this card. There's no deck this card is good for. It's a 5 mana 3/7, which seems like it's okay. But then it says on each player's turn, the first card played costs 0 mana. What that means is your opponent plays a card that costs 0 mana, then kills the Duskfallen Aviana, and you have just given your opponent 8 mana's worth of stuff on the board for free.
Yay!
Don't take this card, guys. Nothing makes it worth it.
This
is not a card in which you can like get some value out of. Like, no, take like the I don't know, the King Togglewag. Right, this is the time to pick the meme card if all of your other cards are bad.
I know. Or pick the Soul Thief if like you're afraid your deck will run out of cards.
Yeah, like these are all cards that could potentially like do something. You know, Duskfallen Aviana has no potential to do anything. This is like when it is like the total top deck situation and your opponent's mana doesn't matter at all, and you have a whole bunch of cards. Then it works. That's a very particular situation.
Yep.
Okay, that's Druid. Don't know what else to say about it. Do you have any parting words for Druid before we move on?
No, I mean, look, once again, we have to wait for sort of Blizzard's categorization before we say how good or how bad it's going to be. But not super excited about the new cards that are coming in because there's not. It's not like there's synergy here,
Yeah,
right?
and it's not like Druid of the Scythe is an exciting card. It's really
No.
good. It'll help a lot. It does what Druids do, but it's not exciting.
No, it's definitely not that exciting. All right, so that's Druid. Non-exciting cards for, I think what some people would say is not the most exciting class.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll see you with Hunter next, which is a very exciting class and about to dominate the meta again, right? Like that glorious 2-week period in Cabals and Catacombs.
Find out in the next video.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Give me 1 second.
Oh
I need to
my
like type
gosh.
stuff.
Yeah.